Okay, so I can see it is officially 11 o'clock, so we can kick off. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon from wherever you're tuning in from the world. And welcome to part two of the segment looking at BIM for civil infrastructure development, concentrating or focusing on this topic being road design. You're going to see some really cool features for further automation with Civil 3D. That's going to save you so much of time. It's quite hard to believe until you see it. So let us jump into today's presentation. Of course, all of our webinars are uploaded to the Baker Bains YouTube channel. So if you know Barry that missed it today, you're more than welcome to share it with them when it is uploaded. We recommend that you subscribe, like, so that you can get notified once the recording has been there. Also, when you do register, and if you still can't make it, register anyway, because the recording link will be sent to you once it has been uploaded. So make sure that you do. So a little bit about this series and how I have conjured it up. I thought of combining a lot of different disciplines in civil engineering, and one of the best examples I thought of was creating a development, right? So if you are joining this at part two, this was a 6-part series. Part one has been complete, but I'll get to that in a minute. But it is a 6-part webinar series focusing on BIM technologies for various components of civil infrastructure development required for a residential development. So if you want to get very technical, the design aspects to be covered is that of site, roads, stormwater, sewer, water, and design visualization, with part two today being road design. You can see on the right hand side the technologies that I plan to use in this webinar series. The one in the red box, or those three, will be the champions, I would say: InfraWorks, Civil 3D, and of course IDAS. You will see a little bit of vehicle tracking today, and we'll see as time goes along, we might bring in some of those applications below or even more. I would be your host or your speaker for today. For those of you that don't know me, I am Shuaib Yunus. I'm the BIM technical specialist for civil infrastructure and mining at Baker Bains here in South Africa. Just a little bit credentials about me. I'm a civil design consultant, international keynote speaker, currently doing my master's in engineering, focusing on BIM actually for road design, believe it or not. I'm a webinar host, Autodesk certified instructor, certified professional, associated member of the South African Institute of Civil Engineers, as well as the champion of BIM for civil infrastructure in Africa. Presented at a lot of your events, professional bodies, institutes, and I've just finished off at Autodesk University this year. A big shout out and thank you to all of you that have attended my session on Scan to BIM for Roads. It was amazing to see such a turnout with over 500 plus people. At Baker Bains, I am involved in numerous projects, so BIM for civil infrastructure, geographic information systems or GIS, common data environments, CDEs, reality capture, scan to BIM, as well as virtual reality and visualization. And of course, if you want to reach out to me directly, that is my contact, shuaib@bakerbains.com. Right, so a little bit about us, a quick one-slider, Baker Bains and what we do, or the company that I work at. We specialize in a variety of different segments, right? So those 4 on your screen are the largest. We also partner with really cool technologies that we feel will make an impact in the AEC and PDM industries. AEC standing for Architecture, Engineering and Construction, PDM for Product Design and Manufacturing, reality capture in terms of TopCon. If you are working on the construction site, on a mining site, that is your best bet. If you're doing buildings and interiors, like a BLK 360, definitely a winner in that space, and the popularity is just growing year by year. We are going to see IDAS in action today, actually for the next probably 2 or 3 webinars after this. It is really, really powerful when combined with Civil 3D. We have ClearEdge 3D, which extracts a point cloud into CAD geometry. It is absolutely amazing. I've used it on our office here in Johannesburg just to test it out for myself, and it extracted about 90% of the office. So I just needed to make a few tweaks, and I had a Revit BIM model in my computer. We also Autodesk co-partner. We are on the Service Provider Select catalog. We are a consulting implementation framework accredited partner, as well as a BE level 1. We also provide classroom and virtual training. I'll get a little bit more on that on the end. do stick around because there are some valuable resources that I will probably give you so that you can reach out to me. We are an authorized training center as well as CAD learning. We are the distributor in Africa. If you haven't heard of CAD learning, it is an online portal, I think, with about 50 plus Autodesk software on there, pre-recorded videos step by step to get you learning on the go. Especially if you're working in the multidisciplinary field like myself, you have to kind of upskill on the go every now and then. That is your best bet, or your personal tutor 24/7 available. You just log in on Google or something like that, whichever browser you prefer, and you can access those lessons at your own leisure. All right, so that is a little bit about us at Baker Baines. Let's look at today's session, what we are going to cover. Now, for those that know me, and I can see majority of you I do know on the call, I always start off with the reason. It's no use just showing something without knowing why you're doing it, and that's why we put in the industry perspective. We're going to look at the challenges faced in civil infrastructure development or municipal engineering, because the aspects or elements covered here also impact municipal engineering. And then we're going to jump directly into the demo, looking at road design. Then we're going to close, again, very, very pertinent. We're going to give you some key takeaways, how we can help you, and of course the Q&A. I mean, if you have any questions while I'm presenting, jot them into the Q&A box and I will tackle them at the end of the webinar, so the flow goes quite nicely. So let's look at the industry perspective. What challenges are currently faced in civil infrastructure, particularly to development and municipal engineering? So first of all, it is design complexity. When you're working with a variety of consortiums, different organizations, building something of a magnitude, maybe something on the right-hand side, but much bigger, even that could be complex. It can get quite messy if you don't have your processes and your workflows in order. We also look at the coordination. How would you let the disciplines talk effectively to each other? I always use the example of architecture versus structure. I mean, we always have that fight on site, especially when I was in the structural office. Coordinating with the architect was quite a challenge. We also have collaboration. How would you share your files in a synchronized manner? So how would you get the information in time, ensuring that the person received it, addressing the comments or any concerns raised? Collaboration is a key factor when it comes to civil infrastructure development. And of course, you're going to need the technologies, right? Having the right technologies to accomplish the task. There's no doubt about that. You can have your preference with technology. It doesn't matter which developer, which vendor you side with, as long as it is suitable to the task at hand. It definitely needs to be considered, right? And of course, the visualization aspect. I have seen this throughout many conferences that I've presented this year. Unfortunately, all of them were online. Maybe next year we will be live or in person. Visualization is becoming a really hot topic, especially gamification and those type of things, because people need the design to be translated in a non-technical manner. If you're an engineer, you'll be able to read the drawing, architect, or whichever profession that has design at its forefront. But if you are a person investing in the project or capital or those type of things, you're not going to understand the technical know-how. So the best bet is a visual 3D model, and that is a really critical game changer in approving projects as well as getting them signed off. Right, so now that you understand the challenges, let us jump into our demo for today. Right, so a quick recap from part one. So for those of you that have missed it, this is what we are dealing with. So I've taken a site in KZN. I think the last site was in Joburg, and then the previous one was in the Western Cape. So I'm jumping all around South Africa here. And we were tasked to develop a civil design for a residential development. And in the series, we are going to be going through all of those listed below there, right? And we're going to tackle each topic every month. And of course, we have ticked off site design. We've already got the site created or the platform. Today, we're going to be looking at road design. So let's start off here, converting polylines to generate road corridors and their long sections profiles using the Devotech IDES corridor wizard in Autodesk Civil 3D. Now that is quite a mouthful, but let me simplify it. Generally, when we're doing design, if you're the engineer and you've got a draftsperson or a BIM technician or civil technician working under you, they are the ones that are normally doing the design. So generally, depending on capacity, sometimes you might sketch out something quite quickly using polylines. Those are the most common things used in industry from a quick sketch perspective in civils, right? You can use it for pipelines and like linear infrastructure, those type of things. But you would still need to convert those from scratch if you're using the wrong technologies, right? Or depending on your collaboration suite. If you use IDAS with Civil 3D, you can literally convert those polylines to a long section, right? As well as a road corridor. I know it sounds a bit too good to believe, but let me show you here. Right. So we're going to convert, as you can see here, this is our site. So let me just take it through this quickly. We've got all of the plots for the residents there set out, and you can see the red lines are actually the polylines that I have sketched out. I've also created a cross section or an assembly in Civil 3D. And now the great thing here is if you're using IDAS, you can bring in South African kerbs. So for example, if you've got the template for Devotech IDAS, which you can download off their website, you will see that there are South African standards here, so SABS, SANRAL, and you can wheel them in Civil 3D. So for example, in this session, I've used a mountable kerb, all right, for my design. And those are according to South African standards. So all of this has already been pre-configured for you, especially the long sections. I mean, they have been made so that you could even, well, actually the assemblies rather, that you have stepped layers. You also have multiple elements in terms of formatting the cut and fill scenarios, and all of that with Devotech IDAS, the template. So you can see already from a localization perspective, you are given much more options to work here in South Africa. So let's go back in here. So now that you know what I have, I'm going to go to the IDAS tab. Again, it works in Civil 3D, and I'm going to select the corridor wizard. Now this is quite a nice function, so I'm going to walk you through it. So the first step is to select your road polylines. Now those polylines are signifying the center line of your road, okay? So I've drawn them quite nicely. You can see there's 7 in total, and we hit next. And now we can give them a name. So I want them to start from 1. Alignment for as a base name is fine. I've got them in site 1 because of my parcels. And I can toggle these if I'd like. 20, those are sample lines. If you're familiar with Civil 3D, you need them to create your quantities. I can also set a offset of the ground, and I can also define the left and right style for the edge of travel way. So your levels at the edge of your lanes. And of course, I will select a template. I did create that assembly. I can also go and select it from the model directly if I forget the name. And of course, this is the target points or the point codes that I'm going to be using for the left and the right side of the road. So ETW, edge of travel way. Right, and of course, you can decide what surface you want to target depending on what your design. Select that correctly, and you can also toggle the lane width. So I'm keeping 3 meters for this. And of course, you can select your profile view style. So this will help you display your information in a much more better manner. And of course, this is one of my favorite features where you can configure this to get the correct level. So for example, if you're reading how IDAS works, it's actually telling you which profiles to select. So for example, profile 1 should be a VA, profile 2 needs to be the left-hand side of the road. And for the right edge, the right-hand side. So it gives you a good guidance, even if you're not a pro at Civil 3D. I mean, that is quite clear enough in terms of what profiles you want to use in your long section band set. And as you can see, everything else looks pretty good. So again, you can customize this directly in here rather than creating the profile section and then going and doing it. Of course, I'm going to call it road 1. It's also going to create the top surfaces for me as well as the datum. Datum being the bottommost portion of the bottom layer. Sounds a bit weird saying, but you need that in order to compute your earthworks. And then of course we can decide what type of a slope we're working with, and I'm going to use against the NGL, right? So it's going to end up with a crossfall. So here we are. I'm going to click create corridors. And the software in the command line is going to ask me to where would you like to place your long sections. So I give a click, we will give it a few seconds, and you should see shortly that there we are. Imagine that, so many roads, and we've already generated the long sections on here, right? And you can see, depending on the nature of the profile, it will give you those associated levels. And of course, because it's a crossfall, you should see one edge higher than the other. So all of the long sections are done with a few clicks. I've done this intentionally. If you see something like that, very short, you've got a polyline somewhere that shouldn't be there, so you can just go and delete it. Now if you see those hazard signs, it's just for tangencies, right? I will just rebuild my corridor, and just to show you that it works with design, it also still flags your polyline. So that line or that curve needs to be smoothed out on either end, and software is giving me a heads up from the geometric design perspective that I need to fix it. And as you can see, all of the corridors with the associated top surfaces were done with a few clicks. If you work in road design, you should be like, wow, right now, because that you do know how much time that normally takes. Okay, so the next thing is, we always get this question: if you generate the corridor, what is the quickest way to edit the width of the lanes without actually changing or going to the assembly and updating it one by one? Now, the great thing with Devotech IDAS with Civil 3D is that you can do it directly on the corridor. Let me show you how. So here we are. We have our design done. We go again in the IDAS tab. We go to the corridors option and we say edit corridor widths or road width. And I can go zoom into the corridor that I would like. So let's maybe take this one. I will select it, and I can now specify a lane width in the command line. So maybe we can bump it up to 4 meters, right? Because we used 3 initially. And you will see just now I will update this and the corridor will actually update. You can see it does say it has been successful. So I can either go to the Civil 3D Prospector tab and update the corridors, as you can see on the left. IDAS has a really cool function where you can click rebuild corridors and select a specific corridor. So it saves you also on the automation time rather than building everything. And here we are. You could see the lane widths have updated, and you can see that everything looks pretty good. However, I'm going to revert it back to 3 meters. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to actually update those lane widths. Okay, this is the next one, intersections. I always have conversations about this, either on LinkedIn or via email, that isn't there a better way to use or to create intersections or bellmouths? How can you give us more control over it? Enter Devotech IDAS, right? So you'll see right now. Let us jump in here. So here we are. I'll go to the IDAS tab, and we've got all of our corridors done. But what we need to do is, I want to first switch on the top surface. Again, this is a cool feature of IDAS, where I can impose the side road surface onto my long sections multiple. So I will just select all of them, and I will just zoom into one, right? So you can see that the road, maybe that one there, you can see that's the road that's actually coming into it. And you can see the top, the crossfall of the road quite beautifully, right? And the vertical alignment is currently not tied into that, but let's see what happens. So now that we know, or we have our top surfaces shown, we can now go and use the corridor or the intersection bellmouth feature. So all I've got to do is select the 2 intersecting alignments. I can simply highlight them like this and hit enter. And as you can see, a few seconds, not even 2 seconds, it's generated the curves or the bellmouths for me. And I can just continue, right? I can go to all of the roads that are intersecting quite quickly. Sometimes if you don't select it correctly, this is what will happen, right? So you'll get this. Don't worry, just reselect your alignment. So I'll go and reselect it, and here we are. You see it has done that bellmouth quite nicely. Now, because I have a loop road, it also is so clever, it has generated the bellmouth on the other end of the road. Now check how much of time that actually saves you. It's absolutely mind-blowing, right? Now let's make it a bit more interesting. So we've got one more T intersection, if I could use that word. What about a four-way intersection? How does that work? Well, here we are. All I got to do again, I will just select the two intersecting alignments, hit enter, and it has created all four bellmouths. Again, this is just taking a few seconds, right? Let us zoom in and just finish it off strong. So I've got that one there, yeah, and of course we will just do that one. Okay, oh, there's actually one more. Let us just zoom in here, and again, I can go and select this one by one if I'd like. Just if you want to be that person, you can do it. So that's why I have used that option there. So here we are. We have all of the bellmouths for those multiple strip of roads done and dusted in a few seconds. All right. Okay, you can see how quick actually this webinar is going because of the efficiency. Now it comes the exciting part where we're going to look at creating the intersection corridor. Okay, right, let's see how Devotech helps us here. So let's zoom in. Let's do one T intersection and one four-way, right? So just to give you an idea. So what we would need to do is first, if you wanted to know which alignments are intersecting, you could turn on the quick properties and view that. You can see that's alignment 7. All right. So this is one way, or the way that we would normally do it, just using Civil 3D. I can do the same for that alignment for the what we would call in design terms the side road or linking road. You can see that is alignment 1. Right. Same here. I can go and check which alignment with the quick properties. But how do you know which profile is associated with it in a quick manner? Now, Autodesk has an option where if you select an alignment, it has a zoom to profile feature, and if you select a profile, it will go to zoom to alignment. So let's zoom to that profile view, and you can see it takes me directly to the long section that I need to work with. I can do the same thing, it's irreversible, so I can select the profile or the long section, select zoom to alignment, and you can see it picks up the extent of that alignment, which is that one there. Okay, so let us go and create an intersection. Now, the reason why I wanted to know which alignments is to just make sure that it is selected correctly. So again, we'll use the Autodesk tab. We also need the direction. So I'm going to switch on the changes. Again, Autodesk has a really cool feature where you can add labels to multiple alignments at one time. And here we are. All of our alignments have changes or stations attached to it. And we need this to understand the direction of our side road, right? Because the bellmouths work with direction. So now that we do know that, let us go and have a look at this four-way intersection, right? You can see I've created assemblies. This stays the same in Civil 3D, where you will need to create your kerb returns and so on and so forth, all right? So that when you are creating or using the Autodesk wizard for the intersection, you have your assemblies created. Okay, so let us just do maybe this one here. All right, I'm going to zoom to that alignment. So that is alignment 1, right? Let's go and see the profile view of that to see what the vertical alignment is doing there. Is it tied in perfectly or not? So again, I would go and select the T intersection. You just remember that that was alignment 1. And here we are. We selected it. It's picking up the correct vertical alignments for your profiles. And we're going to choose split corridor. And in this case, I thought I'll just do 2 T intersections, which make up a 4-way intersection. So you can see both. All right. Right. So I've selected my assemblies, and you can see the infographic below guides you as well. And we go to next. And now we will do it for the linking road or the side road. So you can see that is row 5. We've got all of those in there. And of course, I'm going to use the same assembly because I'm in an estate, generally all the roads are the same width. Okay. So now what I have to do is select those bellmouths I've created. Now, let's look here. Just acknowledge the direction of flow for the road. So if I'm coming down that way, the bell mouth on the left will be that one there. All right, so I selected it. All right, and I've got my assembly selected quite nicely. All right, and then I can go and select the one on the right. So if I'm coming down that way, that bell mouth will be on the right hand side. So it works with the direction of change or alignment. And of course, you can go and select your target, you can select your frequencies for your corridor, same like Civil 3D, and you can decide what you want to do. So I also want to create the bell mouth long sections. So I will click outside anyway. You should see on your right hand side now, 2 profiles have been done, where I can go and check the vertical tying. But if I zoom in, look at the corridor, it has been completed. So I did this quite slowly, and if you know what you're doing, that could take about 3 minutes or so, right? So very automated. Let us go and do the other side. Right, so we've got the corridor done for that side. I would go back and I would repeat the T intersection wizard. I would select the intersection point of both the alignments, and it'll practically be the same for the settings. I would just need to go and reselect the bell mouths. Right, so again, if I'm going in that direction, that's going to be on the left, and that is going to be on the right. Okay, towards the intersection. And I'm just going to untick the profiles because I've showed you that already. So you can see what happens when it gets generated. And believe it or not, in a few seconds, you can see the corridor is already starting to be created. The top surface is starting to be created. And in a few seconds, once we regen, you should see everything ties in perfectly to the side of the road. That is absolutely amazing. And you will repeat the same steps along all of your other intersections. So think about how you're normally doing it and how much longer it takes you just to do one, whereas you could use the Autodesk T intersection wizard in Civil 3D to generate all of your intersections one by one, though, in a few minutes. That's absolutely amazing in time saving, and it's also further automation. Now let's go and look at the actual profiles, right? So remember that was alignment 1. I'm going to go zoom to profile view, and let's see if IDAS tied in the alignment to the side road. So here we are, and here it is. You can see it ties in perfectly to the top of the road. I'll just make it a bit thicker. Here we are. And the road's alignments fit in perfectly. You might want to tweak the rest of the alignment, maybe for your own geometric purposes. However, you can see IDAS is so intelligent that it ties in the cross sections or the vertical profiles quite beautifully. So that is how you would do intersections using IDAS. The last part of the webinar, which I thought I'll just throw in here, it wasn't really pertinent to this stage, but I thought I'll just remind you that you could actually do parking layouts using Civil 3D and vehicle tracking. So let us go here. So let's say maybe this portion of the estate is going to be maybe 2 or 3 clubhouses, right? And I can go to the vehicle tracking tab. You could create your own custom settings here for parking, but in this case, I'm going to use the British standard. It's quite close. And here we are. We open up a parking wizard where we can select the configuration of the road that we would like to use, or the parking rather, and which side, whether we want to end a footpath, we want to put in islands. And all you've got to do is draw a line. Right? So I'm going to snap or start it there and check this out. Can you see it all automatically put in an island at the end? And I'm going to come straight up here. I could have went along that curve, but maybe I want to put some trees or something like that at that portion for visualization later. And I hit escape. And look at this. So if it was curved, you could use that option to snap it along a curve, so it doesn't have to be linear. Okay. And you can see all of the CAD work is done for you in a few clicks. Generally, if you use AutoCAD, you would need to do that by creating a line, offsetting it, and click, click, click. If you have like 30 parking rows, you have 30 clicks. So I'm going to do the same thing on the left-hand side, and I will enter something of that sort, right? Okay, so again, I'm making this this development up on the go. So if it's not that great planned out, do forgive me. I'm just keeping things out of the box and fresh here. But here we are. I'm gonna drop in that there. I'm gonna end it maybe there. Maybe I would add a few more parking layouts. We'll see how it goes. But you can see the island is generated on either end, and it's all controlled by parking standards. Like I said, you could snap to the curve there and just edit either side so it fits in smoothly. And now we have built parking lots. Now, if I wanted to use this for visualization, maybe in InfraWorks, I would need to explode this. So normal AutoCAD command, I can explode it, and I can then export this CAD data to a shapefile. So you can do this, or you can not do it. It's totally up to you. I thought I'll just throw it in, but you can see everything is a separate segment right now, and I can export all of this to a shapefile, and that line marking can now come up in InfraWorks if you coordinate your model correctly and your surfaces are done to the T, right? So again, I could just give it a shapefile name. I'll call it parking stripes. Hit OK, save it. Select what type of element you're using. Just be careful on this part. Sometimes you might need to select polygon separate, line separate, and then of course you can see 597 objects found. Hit OK. I can also add attributes. If you're familiar with GIS, you definitely can. But for parking stripe, you don't really need it. Hit OK, and I've exported that for further use in the visualization stage. So that is it. It was quite a quick blitz type of a webinar. I normally have my webinars going to about 45 minutes, but because the processes were actually so quick, I couldn't really drag it out that much. You could see how fast this was done. So let us recap on today's takeaways. So first of all, with Civil 3D and IDAS, you can convert polylines to road corridors with their long sections in a few clicks, right? You've seen that quite remarkably done just now. Then of course you can either adjust an assembly, or you could use the IDAS edit road width function to edit the road width of a corridor in a few clicks, maybe 3 clicks. And then of course you can easily create intersection bellmouths, curb returns using the wizard for the T intersection in IDAS. Right, you saw where we just highlighted the 2 alignments, whether it was a T intersection or a 4-way, it generated all of the bellmouths in like a second. And then of course, you can use the intersection corridor wizard to automate your corridor design. As you had seen there, I have done the 4-way intersection, doing it one side at a time, so you could make use of it in the same manner. And of course, in conjunction with that, we've got the top surface done, the datum surface done, we've got the sample lines done. We can actually get quantities from this road right now, but I thought I will just look at the optimization and automation functions for road design with Civil 3D and IDAS. And of course, we exported the paintwork to a shapefile, and we'll see, maybe we'll use that for our visualization model, which will be the conclusion of the series. I think it's part 6, if I'm not mistaken. So just string along till then. So how can we actually help you? So we believe in this, where we solve our customers' problems through digital transformation, helping them to design and make a better world. And using the correct technologies, the correct workflows, the correct work processes. We definitely are doing that on our webinars, as you've seen here for road automation. So how I can help you, or how we can help you, we'll give you 3 options here. So I've came up with this personally. You could do it yourself, right? If I know a lot of people that prefer learning on themselves, and the best case for that is to get CAD learning. All right, so you can contact us if you would like to download a trial. You can also get it off our website, where you can learn on the go. There's a lot of different softwares there. There's Civil 3D, InfraWorks, Revit, Inventor, 3ds Max, Robot Structures, Dynamo. There's a whole list of software that you can learn for your own pleasure or for your own projects, and that makes you become more versatile as a professional. The second option is we could show you, right? So you could attend a full training course that can be InfraWorks, Civil 3D, Revit, whatever of your choice. If you don't want a full-on type of a course, maybe you're an engineer just managing the drawing office or technical director, but just want to know the basics. We also have Kickstarters, which are like shorter in time and get quite concise to the point. However, it doesn't dive into that much detail as a normal training course or full training course. And last but not least, if you are using these tools and you have specific things that you would like to fulfill, right, or you have specific objectives, things that you would want to do with the software and you're lost, you can always reach out to me and let me know. We can have a look at it, and if it is possible, we can put together a customized training course based on your topics. I mean, you can't get more personalized than that, right? And last but not least, the one that I do enjoy the most is Let's Do It Together, where we come together as a team. So myself, your consultants, your organizations, I've done this over many years right now, and we apply it on a project. So generally we take it on maybe a previous project where you had a lot of hiccups, just to show you the difference, because you already know how that project went, and now you can look at, if you did it this way, how it would. So we could do it per department, per discipline, per specialization, and we work together. I would show it to you, guide you through it, do the training, or make it around the project so that your project gets done and you also see the best way forward. So if you have or are in that situation, you would like to maybe chat about it, you can hit me up. I will have my details in a bit. Of course, it's all based on our IDOP methodology here, where we look at assessing, educating, and consulting our clients. We look at the teams being the people part of it, process, how you're doing it, technology, what tools you need to be integrated based on your environment, and of course that is all governed by a purpose. So if you want to follow us as a company, those are all of our social media handles. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course YouTube, where the recording of this should be uploaded maybe next week or so. And of course for our clients, we've got a dedicated support desk that's open from 8 a.m. to that time on the screen. So quite comprehensive, and that is the contact for those. And of course, if you want to reach out to me directly, for those of you, well, majority of you know me on here, you know I'm quite social, vocal, and I do chat with my participants and the users in industry. You could reach out to me, anything civil infrastructure, design, or scan to BIM, reality capture. I'm your guy. My email, shuaib@bakerbens.com. You can see the range of software that I use. The primary focus are the ones that I use quite a bit. However, I bring in the other technologies when I do need to. If it is quite in-depth, we do have professionals that are like specializing in Inventor, Revit, and so on. So you have enough backing from our end. And of course, other technologies we work on, you saw IDAS today, automation technology for point clouds, reality capture, scanning, ArcGIS or GIS, as well as CAD learning. And how I can help you personally, I can help you with consulting in terms of your company, software training if you need to get your team up and running for various civil infrastructure elements, scan to BIM, reality capture, process analysis, demos and presenting like what I'm doing right here. If you have any events coming up you'd like me to speak at or contribute, you can always reach out to me. Webinars, I mean, that is quite easy. And of course, if you just want to have a chat, you can hit me up on LinkedIn or email. Maybe you're working on something really cool and you want to share it. It's quite nice to see what people are doing in industry and make us proud as content. So with that, I'm going to open it up to the Q&A. I will just have a quick scroll of what I have received. If you have any questions, now is the time to jot it down, or if you have any comments, if you found the session quite insightful, you could just also let me know so we know that we are on the correct path here. All right, so I'll give you a few seconds for that while I check my question box. Okay, there's the question here is IDAS or for Civil 3D only for roads? No. Okay, so I will give you a heads up for the next webinar. We're actually going to be using it for the stormwater design. So it automates or it makes Civil 3D more robust in terms of its general tools that it has. And a big part of that is the pipe network functions. So I've showed you today what it can do to automate road design. You're going to see maybe next month or so how it can be used for stormwater. All right. So please join for that. The stormwater one is always quite heavy technical. So we'll try and simplify it as best as I can, but you can definitely use it for pipe networks, and also a lot of other like survey coordinate transformation for South Africa. It has a lot of functionality built into it. It's quite a nice tool. So thank you for that. Even though you made me give away which technologies I'm going to be using for the next webinar, it's cool. But yeah, that is about it. Okay, there's another one here. What happens when you change the road alignments for, I'm trying to read this, it's not typed that great. Okay, so I kind of get the gist of it. How do you deal with changes in alignment? So it's not meant to lead to a misconception, because Civil 3D will still monitor that, right? So as you would use normal Civil 3D, either as you can think of it as a plugin that's native to Civil 3D. It works in tangent with that, or in tandem, right? So if you make any changes, of course, you will still need to rebuild your corridor, and it will update, the long sections will update, the profiles will update. So you're not changing anything. You're just optimizing in terms of the features. And I can tell you from using Civil 3D on its own for a few years and then using it with IDAS, it is a big game changer. There's no doubt about that. Right. So don't let that make you confused in terms of the application. The product or the output is the same. We're just using a much more intelligent way of getting it done. Okay. I hope that answered your question, and I hope I read it correctly, right? Let's see if there is another question here. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. I can see some few really cool comments here. Virtually saying, brilliant webinar, Shoaib. I need you to move over to IDAS now. 100%, right? It was my reaction when I saw it first, when I did road design, just using Civil 3D. Not taking anything away from Civil 3D. Civil 3D is a brilliant tool, especially if you know how to use it. I think the misconception phase there is when people want to learn on their own such a big software, you are going to get frustrated because you don't know where to look. So that's why there's people like me here, industry leaders, thought leaders, that are actually doing this and helping the industry. And when I saw IDAS and I saw the difference, was definitely a no-brainer. So I definitely agree with you on that. Okay, I think that is it. I don't see any other questions or comments sneaking in, so I don't want to take up any more of your Friday. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. I'm glad to see all of the positive comments. I can't really go through all of them right now. It's quite a list, but all of you are echoing the same sentiment that definitely IDAS with Civil 3D is a game changer. And I think once we do stormwater, you're going to be that much more sold, if I use that word. So thank you very much. I hope you all keep well. Have an awesome day further, great weekend, and we will catch up for the next webinar coming soon.